Good morning, everybody. Kit Cummings here from the Makeshift Pop Studio, and thanks for tuning in for this new 5-part series on the questions that Jesus asked. And so what I'm going to be doing this week is a 5-part series, about 15 minutes. Going to try to shorten them down a little bit so that you have just a little devotional start your day. Try to get your mind right. Raise your hand if you're working in your pajamas today. Can you imagine all the people that are kind of just hanging out at the house, doing their thing? But anyway, this morning I want to start the new one on a question that Jesus asked. If you watch the ministry of Jesus, he was always one-on-one with great crowds. If he wasn't teaching, he was one person at a time, eyeball to eyeball. And he would ask questions. Asking good questions is key, whether it's sales or negotiation, with our kids, asking good questions, with our spouses, and then paying attention to the answer. So this week we're going to be doing 5 parts on the questions that he asked. This first one, it comes out of John chapter 5, beginning in verse 1. It says, "Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for a feast of the Jews. And there was in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who had been there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw that he had been in this condition for such a long time, he asked him, 'Do you want to get well?' 'Sir,' the invalid replied, 'I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me.' Then Jesus said to him, 'Get up, pick up your mat and walk.' At once, the man was cured. He picked up his mat and he walked." So I want you to imagine the scene. There's a place where if you had someone in the family that was sick, that was injured, that was an invalid, there's a place where they would take them and all the people would stay. And can you imagine the scene? People were down and out. People were on their last legs. They were trying to find one last hope. And Jesus, he was always drawn to the least of these. If you think about it, that was a scripture that changed my life. I've been preaching that scripture for years. And Jesus talked about there's going to be sheep and goats. And what's going to difference in the sheep and the goats is the way they treated the least of these. You can tell a lot by a society by the way they treat the poor, by the way they treat prisoners, by the way they treat the elderly, by the way they treat the sick. And in this world where we uplift the fame and fortune, the celebrities, the actors, the entertainers, the rappers, the athletes, and the ones that have, the most celebrity, the most riches, the most flash, we put them on a pedestal. Corporate leaders, politicians, we put everybody on a pedestal, even preachers. But Jesus said, when I was hungry, when I was thirsty, when I was sick, when I was a stranger, when I was naked, when I was in prison, you came to visit me. And he said, you want to know where I'm going to be? I'll be with the least of these. And I took that very literally. And I started going to the places where I never went when I was in the ministry all those years. And it changed my life. So I want you to imagine that day. Jesus walks upon this scene. I think it was very deliberate. And it's just all these people down and out. They got nobody else. Maybe the family put them there because they couldn't take care of them anymore. And there was this, it was a rumor, it was a tradition. And there was a pool. And it had been said that an angel would come down and stir the water, and the first one to get in would get the blessing. Now, whether or not that was true, I don't know. Maybe it was that whoever got in first had such faith that it was their faith that healed them. When Jesus healed people, he said, "It's not me, it's your faith." And so who knows, the first one down, maybe it was like, yeah, I won, and then they believed they're going to get the blessing. Well, there's a guy that's been down 38 years. He's got no more hope. Maybe he wasn't even trying to get down to the pool when the water was stirred. Maybe he got him a spot, and that's just where he hung out. And it was same old, same old. This morning, that question, do you want to get well? It's a great question. And imagine when Jesus asked it, he didn't do this all the time. He would heal. Or if someone said, hey, I need help, it was always one-on-one, doing exactly what you needed. To the religious hypocrite, he challenged, but he asked questions. To the woman caught in adultery, it was one-on-one. Jesus always one-on-one. And today, he'll be one-on-one with you too. But the question still remains, do you want to get well? And so the brother probably looked at him and said, what are you talking about? Do I want to get well? I've been down here for 38 years and I can't get in. And then the heart was revealed. A great question reveals the heart. He said, I got nobody to help me in. Okay, that's a big excuse. He says, man, everybody else gets ahead of me. We don't know everything he said, but I think he started telling that sad story. Complaints. And then he said, man, nobody helps me and they always get down ahead of me. He started blaming other people. Today I want you to look at those three things. Those steal our power and steal our miracle. Because maybe in the morning we're praying to God, help me, and it might be a financial thing for a lot of people. I mean, we're having to deal with that. Everybody's scrambling right now. Doesn't matter the industry. And people are saying, please save me. It could be a marriage thing. Now all of a sudden people are cooped up. And guess what? Domestic disturbance calls are going through the roof. And law enforcement, first responders are out there trying to do what they need to do. They're having to go to people's houses because there's fights and there's disturbances. And I think that this time is revealing a lot of stuff. I mean, if you got teenagers, God bless you. I mean, we're empty nesters, man. I can't imagine if you got little ones. But it's these sad stories we tell. What's your best excuse? I mean, your most sophisticated excuse. That when you get to that point where you got nothing else, that's the one you reach for. I had one for years, and it was all centered around, my relationship with my dad. And it was always the excuse instead of, just taking responsibility for myself. And so this guy's like, of course I want to get well. And so this morning, think about your best excuse. Is there somebody you blame? Is there something in your life? There's a lot of complaining. If you start to hear it today, you're going to hear a lot of people complaining. We talked about it yesterday, is people are sharing bad news. It's the anti-gospel. They're talking about everything that they fear. Whatever we imagine, we create. Whatever we speak about, we create. It starts in the head. We start playing these fantasies. Unfortunately, it's kind of like people are fantasizing about their worst case scenario, and we're glued to the TV, and we're getting to become experts on why we can't have, do, be, whatever it is. So 38 years. Pick one thing that you could go to war on during this crisis. You got a little bit more time, a little bit more bandwidth. What could you go to war on? Your one thing. Pick it. Is it an addiction or a habit that if you could change it, and you've been in your routine for a long time, and a lot of times we might be in a mess, but it's a comfortable mess. I mean, why would this guy want to be laying there, paralyzed? A lot of times people, all of us, we get comfortable in something that's not good for us, and it doesn't last, but at least it's my mess. I'm comfortable in it. And you can get to a point, we can all get to a point where the idea of changing this thing becomes just overwhelming because you've tried before. You've tried to get into the water. You've tried to stumble down and get to your blessing. The prison ministry, one of the things we do in there is we give hope to men who don't have any left. And hope is a dangerous thing in a prison. And the reason why is because they've gotten their hopes up before in life and they're crushed. People came to see them for a long time and then they just stopped coming. The letters came for a long time, and letters mean a whole lot to a person that's not connected to the free world, but then the letters start coming. There was money put on their books early on, but now they've been there a long time and the money stopped coming. And maybe the parole board set them off again. I got a lot of friends, and I'll ask, hey, how's it going? He said, I'm going up for the parole, man. This is my third time. Pray for me, bro. And I'll see him again. How'd it go? And they set me off again. Hope is crushed. Maybe they were in love, and that person just stopped waiting anymore, and now all of a sudden they've lost the love of their life. So, you might say, hey, they all deserve to be there. Well, some of us do too, in the free world. But it's just that hope. One of the things that I love saying, it's our tagline, is hope is the new dope. I mean, hope right now is at a premium, man. People need it so bad. This man needed it. But I think that when you get your hopes crushed, as a matter of fact, people have been around the sun a lot of times, and we're getting a little older. We got more life experiences, a little bit more failure. People have left, jobs have gone away, kids have grown up and gone, and now all of a sudden we're in this place, and maybe we're laying by the pool, and it's not terrible, but it's not what I could be. And hope is what we need. That's the first step, is hope. The belief that, man, things could get better. Man, I could attract that job during this time. Man, I could fall in love again. This whole thing is about falling in love with Jesus again, finding that first love. Man, my wife and I fell in love again. It was incredible. After 15 years, the last couple of years, just something came alive in us, and it changed everything. Man, I want that in my relationship with God. But we got to deal with the things that steal our power and keep us from seeing the miracle. You pray for your miracle, but then if you hold on to your best excuse, always have somebody to blame, and tell a sad story to anybody that'll listen, you're staying by the pool. You're staying with the masses. And right now, during this place, we got some people that are down and out, struggling with addiction, studying with doubt, struggling with your faith. Is he real? Because he doesn't seem present. He seems absent. How bad do you want it? If you wanted it so bad to overcome this one thing, that if you overcame it, your life would be unleashed, and then all of a sudden there would be a faith. Why? Because you conquered your Goliath, whatever the Goliath is in your life. So Jesus challenged him. Do you want to get well? Yeah, I want to get well. All right, what you want to do? Like, how far you want to go? Think about something in your life that you wanted so bad. It could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. Man, I always went after everything with all my heart. So now, why don't I take that same energy and go after the things that man would set me free, would take me to a new level? What if all of us leveled up during this time? I think that's the key. So I'm going to finish with a story. These ones I want to be about 15, 17 minutes, but I want to give you a real story of this fascinating journey. So there's a prison in Louisiana called Angola. For years it was called the bloodiest prison in the world. It's the biggest prison. It's 18,000 acres right on the Mississippi River in rural Louisiana. If you get out and know where to go, they're going to come and get you. And so it's got 6,200 inmates. Over 5,000 are doing life without. So, I mean, this is where they live. It's a miracle factory, man. When you go there, you see God. I mean, you'd be amazed. You can see God in the darkness. But one thing they become known for is the convict rodeo. So twice a year, they built this big rodeo stadium, and free world people come in, thousands of them, and pack this stadium, and they have a convict rodeo, and it's famous. And so I was able to go there one time and be able to see it for myself and go see my friends. But these are real cowboys. These aren't some goofy rodeo, and they do all the barrels and the roping and they can do all that stuff. But then they got a couple things you never see in the free world. They have one, they call it convict poker, and 4 inmates, they sit at a red table in the middle of the thing. All they got's a helmet on. And there's a bull that they're agitating. I mean, a big Brahmin bull. I'm talking about 2,000-pound bull. And he is ticked. And he's got the real horns. They're not shaved off. And so the game is, when that bull gets released and he sees that red table, man, he is motoring for it. Last prisoner standing or sitting at the table gets $500 cash on their books, which is a big deal. And so, man, you've never seen human beings fly so high. But the last one is all the brothers get onto the ring, all wearing blue and white stripes, and there's about 50 of them. And this is the one that everybody's been waiting for. When I was in the audience, man, we were like, oh, this is the final thing. And so basically there's the biggest, baddest bull, and he's getting agitated and can't wait to get free. And they open it up, and he sees 50 guys in his ring. And man, it gets crazy. He, just like on the movies or the cartoons, he starts snorting and, kicking up dirt, and everybody starts getting ready, and then he charges for this crowd. And I'm talking about dirt flies and bodies fly. And here's the game. He has a red medallion attached to his forehead with a string or a cord or something. And the game is whoever can get that red medallion, $500 cash. And these brothers will literally die for $500. And so, anyway, there's one brother, they'll call him Inmate Johnson. He's won it 16 times in a row with 50-to-1 odds and got to get that one medallion. And man, everybody started scrambling, and the bull would come out and he'd take another charge, and then all of a sudden one brother came out holding up the red medallion, and it was Brother Johnson. 17-time champion in a row. How bad does he want it? But he also has figured out some sort of strategy to help him get that thing. 500 times 17, Joey's got a dang hustle that works for him. And I'll leave you with this. If you want something bad enough, you're willing to go through hell to get it. But that takes hope. And you got to have a strategy. I mean, it's not just, man, help me change this, and then we don't do anything. If you want to change your marriage, man, treat her like a queen. Love her completely. You guys are together a lot right now. Change it. Man, if you want to change a bad habit or an addiction, man, go for it. Now's the time that you can do it. Man, call a trusted friend. I'm getting with a brother on the phone at 1 o'clock today to talk about breaking his addiction, and I'm so proud of him that he reached out. He's going to make the most of this because alcohol is killing him. It's his love affair that needs to be ended. And it's time to fall in love with God all over again. So be like Brother Johnson. Go into the fray, man, with a singular purpose, with hope that today's your day, that after 38 years or however long you've been battling this one thing, that this is your day. But understand, Jesus is asking all of us, do you want to get well? Don't just pray to me in the morning and say, help me get well, and then lay around the pool in your comfortable mess. All of us, it's time to tackle that beast, slay the dragon, conquer Goliath, and then you'll be set free. And when this whole thing ends and we get launched out into the world, why not go out on fire in love again, in love with our families, in love with God, in love with our life, and maybe even grateful for that job we've been complaining about. God bless you guys. 9 a.m. tomorrow, new devotional. We'll tackle another question of Jesus. If this helped you, man, share a comment. Go and post it. Share it. Think of a friend that might need it. And if you want to get these on the regular, go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. See you tomorrow morning. Kit signing off. Be the peace you wish to see in the world. Peace out.